Ever been told you're too broke to sit with your own family? I was standing in the middle of Marcello's, the kind of restaurant where entrees start at $60 and the wine list has its own sommelier. My sister's voice cut across the dining room. Seriously, you need to move. This table's for people who actually belong here. Other diners turned to stare. I felt my face go hot. My brother-in-law crossed his arms. Main tables reserved for contributors, not charity cases. I stood there in my $15 jeans and blazer from 3 seasons ago, holding a purse I'd had since college. And for one terrible second I thought about just leaving. Then the owner walked over. Tall guy, silver hair, chef's whites. He looked right at me, extended his hand, and said one word. Boss. My sister's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Stick around, because what happened next changed everything. And drop a comment. Where are you watching from right now? Let me back up. I grew up invisible. My sister was the star. Volleyball captain, honors society, full ride to a state school that she turned down for something better. I was the kid who built computers in the basement and got B's. No trophies. No spotlight, just okay. After high school, I worked grunt IT jobs. Help desk, cable pulling. The stuff nobody wants to do. I lived in a 400-square-foot studio with IKEA furniture and a mattress on the floor. Drove a 2009 Camry with a cracked bumper. My sister got married at a vineyard. There were ice sculptures. I couldn't afford a +1, so I went alone and left early. Nobody asked why, but I had a mentor. An old contractor who taught me 2 things. 1, build wealth quietly. 2, save every email. So I did both. I took every freelance gig I could find. Web apps, database cleanup. Back-end work that paid in equity when clients couldn't pay cash. One of those contracts turned into a stake in a SaaS company. Another became a real estate partnership. I kept spreadsheets. Every invoice, every term sheet, every wire transfer. I had a folder on my phone labeled, just in case. I never thought I'd need it for my own family. By the time I turned 32, my portfolio included 3 software companies, 2 real estate deals, and 1 investment I hadn't told anyone about. Not because I was hiding it, because nobody ever asked. Then my sister called and said, "We're doing a reunion dinner. Somewhere nice. Try to dress up, okay?" I should have known. 3 days before the dinner, the group text exploded. My sister sent a message to the family chat. "Hey everyone, reservations are confirmed at Marcello's for Saturday at 7. Splitting the check evenly comes to $570 per family. That work for everyone?" I stared at my phone. I was one person. She was bringing 6. My brother-in-law, Brad, chimed in 30 seconds later. "Unless that's too rich for your blood, Carla? No shame if you need to sit this one out." Laughing emoji. Wineglass emoji. I didn't reply. Another message from my sister. "It's only $570, you can swing that, right? Or do you need a payment plan?" Another laughing emoji. I typed one line. "I'll be there. I'll handle my own check." Sent. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Private text from my sister. "Look, I love you, but maybe don't mention what you do for work. Brad's bringing some partners and clients. We're trying to impress people. You know how it is." I read it twice, then a second text. "Honestly, maybe it's better if you sit this one out. No hard feelings. We'll do coffee next week." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a different app, typed in Marcello's, and confirmed my reservation under my own name. The one they didn't know was already in the system. Saturday night, I pulled into Marcello's parking lot in my Camry, parked between a Tesla and a Porsche Cayenne. The Cayenne was my brother-in-law's. I took a breath and walked in. Clean jeans, blazer, no logos, no jewelry. The hostess smiled. "Good evening, Ms." My sister's voice cut her off. "She's with us." Loud enough that 2 nearby tables looked up. "But she'll sit over there." She pointed to a 2-top near the kitchen door. The swinging kind that staff pushed through with trays. My brother-in-law smirked. "Main tables reserved for contributors." I felt it. That old, familiar smallness. The feeling that I didn't belong. The hostess looked confused. She glanced at her tablet. My sister waved her off. "It's fine. She doesn't mind." "Right, Carla?" I could have said something. Could have walked out. Could have pulled up my phone right then. But I didn't. I sat down at the side table, ordered water, and watched them laugh at the main table, toasting to family with champagne I knew I was somehow paying for. My phone was in my pocket. The folder was right there, but I waited. 5 minutes later, a different person approached my table. Not the hostess. The manager. He was holding a tablet and looking slightly nervous. "Ms. Reyes?" I looked up. I apologize for the confusion. Your standing reservation is always the chef's table, but tonight you were listed under the main dining room. He turned the tablet toward me. I didn't need to see it. I knew what it said. But he showed me anyway. Preferred guest. Lifetime VIP. Owner's circle. My name at the top. A note underneath. Comp all courses. Notify GM on arrival. He cleared his throat. Would you like us to move your party to the private room upstairs? No charge, of course. My sister's fork stopped midair. I saw her head turn. I kept my voice calm. No, thank you. This table is fine. The manager nodded, apologized again, and walked away. I still didn't look at my sister, not yet, because across the dining room the owner was coming down the stairs, the same man in the chef's whites, and he was smiling, at me. My sister was at my table in 10 seconds. She leaned down, hissing so the nearby tables couldn't hear, but her hands were shaking. What did you tell them? I looked up at her. Nothing. Bullshit. Did you pretend to be someone? Did you use someone else's account? Brad appeared behind her. If you committed fraud, Carla, we could have you arrested. You know that, right? I set down my water glass. I haven't said a word. My sister's voice went up. You show up here in a hoodie and jeans, driving that piece of crap car, and suddenly you're a VIP? Stop lying. A couple at the next table glanced over. She didn't care. Whose card are you using? Is this some hacker thing? Because if you're scamming this place, you're making all of us look like idiots. I stayed quiet. Brad crossed his arms. We deserve an explanation. My sister snapped her fingers at a passing waiter. Excuse me? Can you get your manager back here, now? The waiter looked startled but nodded. I felt my heartbeat in my throat. For 10 years, I'd avoided this exact moment. But now it was here, and I realized something. I wasn't scared anymore. You want proof? I said quietly. My sister's eyes narrowed. Yes, I want proof. Okay. I folded my hands on the table. Then let's get the owner. The owner arrived 30 seconds later. Tall, silver hair, chef's whites with his name embroidered on the chest. Marco. He smiled when he saw me. Carla, I didn't know you were here tonight. They didn't page me. First name basis, warm. Familiar. My sister's mouth opened. Marco turned to her. Is there a problem? She pointed at me. She's claiming she's some kind of VIP. I want to see proof. Marco's smile faded. He looked genuinely confused. She is a VIP. She's one of our primary investors. Silence. He pulled out his phone, opened a file, and held it up. Marcello's Holdings, LLC, operating agreement. I watched my sister's eyes scan the screen. Her face went pale. Managing member, Carla Reyes, 38% equity. Capital contribution, $1.2 million. The signature line at the bottom. My signature, dated 3 years ago. Marco looked between us. Wait, you didn't know? He looked at me. Carla, I thought this was your family. I nodded. It is. My sister made a sound. Not a word, just air. Brad took a step back. And I still hadn't raised my voice. Marco excused himself. The family sat in silence. My sister stared at the table. Brad muttered under his breath, You let us think you were broke. I looked at him. I never said I was. You decided. My sister's eyes were wet. Not from shame, from anger. Do you know how hard it's been? Her voice cracked. Keeping up appearances? Brad's firm is bleeding clients. We're remortgaged twice. And you... She gestured at my jeans. You walk around like some community college dropout, making us look bad in front of people who matter. There it was. The truth. It was never about the money. It was about the image. Brad leaned forward. If you had money, you should have helped us. I shook my head slowly. You never asked for help. You asked me to disappear. My sister's lip trembled. Brad told his partners we're a legacy family. How does it look if you're sitting there in a $30 sweater? And just like that, I understood. They didn't want me poor. They needed me poor, so they could stay big. I stood up. The check's covered, I said. All of it. And I walked toward the door. I didn't leave the restaurant. I stopped at the host stand. Asked Marco if I could have 5 minutes in his office. Upstairs, quiet. Just the two of us. I sat across from him and kept my voice level. I need you to do 2 things. He nodded. 1. Send my sister tonight's itemized bill. Full price. No VIP discount. He raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. 2. I'm declining to renew our operating agreement next quarter unless we add a clause. I pulled out my phone and showed him the draft my attorney had sent me 2 months ago. I'd written it after a different incident, but it fit perfectly now. Any investor or partner who uses this restaurant to bully, humiliate, or disrespect staff or guests forfeits their discount privileges permanently. Marco read it slowly. Then he smiled. Done. We shook hands. You could have made a scene, he said. You didn't. I stood. I don't need to. The numbers speak. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. I walked back downstairs. My sister was still sitting at the main table, and I had one more thing to say. I walked back into the dining room. The main table went silent when they saw me coming. I stopped at the end, didn't sit. Other diners pretended to look at their menus. I placed a leather portfolio on the table. My sister stared at it. I flipped it open. 3 documents inside. First, the operating agreement Marco had just shown her. I turned it so everyone could see. I own 38% of this restaurant group. I've invested in 2 other concepts on this block. I flipped to the second page. A term sheet. Velocity Ventures, LP. I'm a limited partner in this fund. $4 million committed over 3 years. My sister's hand went to her mouth. Brad looked like he'd been slapped. I pulled out the third document. A printout. Our family group chat. I pointed to one message. My sister's words 3 days ago. Maybe don't mention what you do for work. You'll embarrass us. I looked at her. You were half right, I said quietly. I am embarrassed, but not of me. I closed the portfolio. Dinner's paid for. All of it. Consider it a gift. I picked up the folder. But I won't be joining family events anymore. You need a photo op. Hire an actor. My sister's voice was barely a whisper. Carla, wait! I looked at her one last time. You told me to sit somewhere else. I turned toward the door. So I am. Permanently. No yelling. No cursing. Just clarity. Marco was waiting by the exit. He opened the door for me, nodded once. Good night, boss. I walked out into the cool air, got into my Camry, and drove home. That was 8 months ago. My sister sent a text the next morning. Can we talk? I didn't respond. A week later, another one? You're overreacting. It was just dinner. I didn't block her number. I just muted it. Brad's firm lost 2 more clients that month. I don't know if it was related, but the timing felt poetic. I didn't gloat. I kept building. Marco and I expanded the restaurant group, opened a 4th location in a neighborhood that had been a food desert for 20 years. Affordable prix fixe menu. $40 for 3 courses. We partnered with a culinary school to offer paid apprenticeships. No PR, no ribbon cutting with the mayor. Just good food and decent jobs. I still drive the Camry, still wear jeans. The only difference now is that I don't dim myself to make other people comfortable. My family reaches out on holidays. I'm polite. I'm brief. I send a card at Christmas. We're not at war. But we're not close either. My sister came to the opening of the new restaurant. I didn't invite her. She just showed up. We stood on opposite sides of the room. She left after 20 minutes. I didn't chase her. Some relationships aren't meant to be fixed. They're just meant to be filed. I see her at funerals, at graduations. We're civil. We exchange pleasantries. And then I go home. And I'm fine with that. Because here's what I learned. Wealth isn't about logos or labels or which table you sit at. It's about options. And the most valuable option you'll ever have is the ability to walk away from people who need you to stay small. I still get coffee at the same diner I went to 10 years ago. Still tip 30%. The money didn't change me. But it did free me. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because you share DNA. Boundaries aren't mean. They're necessary. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Just walk. This story is a fictionalized dramatization for entertainment purposes and is not legal or financial advice. Now I want to hear from you. What's the worst thing a family member ever assumed about you? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if this one hit home, hit subscribe. I post stories like this every week. You're not alone.